We have received your resume. How is your English? Emmy, come is come, go is go, nod yes, no. HR, I regret not being able to work with you and look forward to working with you in the future. How much regret? I said. Are you worried about not being able to read it back, or are there words you can't read? HR, come to work tomorrow at 9 sharp. Me? I'm a rich kid. My family is filthy rich. How rich? The whole city of A is under my feet. My father once said to me, as a rich generation, you must not do illegal things, don't bully the weak, and just spend money honestly at home. This is your self-cultivation as a rich generation. So for the first 20 years of my life, I followed my dad's advice and spent my money at home. Big spenders. But it's only sophomore summer break. My dad suddenly saw me lying around the house being a rich kid and told me to go out and find a class, or my bank card will be frozen. No way, I can only in the online resume, hope which company don't long I accept me. After I cast dozens of companies, I finally got a reply from a company. We have received your resume. How is your English? I was lying on the sofa with my feet up when I received this reply. I sat up and typed on the screen with my fingers. Come and go, nod yes, no. A few minutes later, HR, the person on the other end of the phone, replied. I regret not being able to work with you and look forward to working with you in the future. How much regret? I said. After a few minutes on the phone to read, but there is no reply to the opposite. So I sent another message. Are you worried about not being able to read it back, or are there words you can't read? The opposite message is almost second back. HR, come to work tomorrow at 9 sharp. Me? Now it's my turn to be messy. What does this company see in me after all I've done? Is it any kind of fraudulent pyramid scheme? The other side soon sent the company's address, and very warm, and add a sentence. Welcome to your new position, and I look forward to working with you. So the next day, I had my driver drop me off at the address. As soon as I got off the bus, I was shocked by the company in front of me. When did the company spring up in City A? Soon the personnel lady came out to meet me and took me straight to the top floor. I walked into the conference hall and was greeted not by a smartly dressed HR, but by a gentle, well-made-up granny. I looked at the lady who was standing next to me. My eyes were full of doubt. She saw the doubts of my eyes, smiled and nodded to me, then turned to go out. The door closed. I had no choice but to go to the grandmother. I pulled out my chair and sat down. And you are? The grandmother smiled. Let me introduce myself. I am the largest shareholder of this company. My name is Gao Shuqing. I nodded and flashed the official smirk from dinner with my father. Hello, Gao Dong. Gao Shuqing took my resume and looked at it. I've already got a general idea of your specific situation. She mysterious smile. In fact, I saw you and Xiao Liu chat records, only to take the initiative to let you on board. I couldn't understand. Why? Gao didn't explain much, but said something I didn't understand. I think the company is too boring. I need a lively boy like you to lighten up the atmosphere. She left, and soon the HR lady, who had just taken me upstairs, reappeared in the conference room and took me to the president's office. Gao Dong asked you to work here in the future. I sat in my desk chair and looked around my office. I've been sitting here for an hour, and there's no work for me. So I opened a live platform, brush up my favorite edge anchorwoman. I brushed a super rocket, and then in the barrage message, sister twist is not the waist, is to take my life knife. Soon, thank you for the super rocket, was heard in the studio. I brush a super rocket, continue to brush the bullet screen, now is not 10 o'clock in the morning, is my sister and the starting point of happiness. Every time I brush a super rocket, I leave a dog lick quote in the comments section. The audience in the live studio kept brushing, Bagaji 666. I was in the middle of brushing when a slender hand pulled the phone out of my hand. When I looked up, I saw a cool man standing in front of me. He looked down at his cell phone as the anchorwoman in the studio kept shouting, "Thanks for the super rocket from Lady Gaga. Love you. Give me a kiss, Muamua." Xiao Xu frowned slightly. "Is it good looking?" I felt a little embarrassed, but still crustily said, "Haha, okay, not very good looking." I quickly took the phone back, scratched out the broadcast room, and locked the screen. Xiao Xu was silent for a few seconds and finally spoke up. "Come to my office." I can only hold the phone, silently followed him into the office. Xiao sat me down on the sofa and handed me a piece of paper and a pen. "Write down what that, meow meow said 100 times. Then he added, "Don't leave work until you finish." I clearly saw him after saying the word meow meow, the tip of the ear suffused with a trace of blush. So everyone who enters the office sees the image of a lonely, ascetic bully sitting at his desk, reviewing papers. One has just entered the job, has not yet received an assignment, do not know their own position in the hidden identity version of the rich generation, bent over the coffee table bitterly scribbled on a piece of paper, "Thank you Gaga sister sent super rocket, love you, meow meow give me a kiss, Wamula." After half an hour, I finally finished writing 100 times according to Xiao Xu's request, and took it to my desk to check it. I didn't think he was very old 6 account, check I have cut corners. Fortunately, I've written exactly 100 times. When he was done, he put the paper back in the drawer, waved me out, and went back to work. I didn't do anything all morning except give presents to the anchorwoman. Xiao Xu caught me in the office and copied the anchorwoman's words to thank me 100 times. At noon, Miss Personnel to take me to the canteen to eat, she told me her name is Annie. Don't mention it, the food in the canteen of this company is really good. During the meal, Annie and I about the general situation of the company, told me not to worry, no task to play. She told me that anyway, I was recruited by GAO Dawn, and no one dared to do anything to me. I've been thinking about it, and I think so. Anyway, there is no one to give me assignment, then I should be a change of environment when salt fish. So I will not have the psychological burden, more self-release comfort began to put rotten. After dinner, I found a quiet place to go canyon surfing. I was getting excited about my 5 kills. I pushed all the way up to the high ground, smashed the crystals on the other side, and ended the fight. I looked up and saw a sneaky figure. I put my cell phone into my pants pocket and followed it to see who the sneaky guy is. I lay down against the wall, covering myself with the wall, and craned my neck to see. But the man turned abruptly and met my eyes. Good embarrassing, just let me copy 100 times the president of thank you. I smiled awkwardly. Haha, what a coincidence. He didn't expect to see me here, either. Quite a coincidence. My line of sight moves down, sees on his hand unexpectedly is carrying the milk tea bag. What? In the market tricks of the bossy president, secretly buy milk tea. Xiao Xu see I saw his hand carrying milk tea, like just reaction like, immediately hide behind. He soon realized that there was no point in hiding it now, so he pulled it out again. Well, do you drink it? Don't say it, I've been craving it for a long time. My head bobs like a rattle. Xiao Xu walked up to me, took out a cup of milk tea from the takeout bag and handed it to me, then hurried away. Come to work this week. I watch the edge of the female anchor every morning, play xiaoxian, brush small book. At noon and Annie go to the canteen to cook, finish looking for a no-one place to play games or lunch break. Reading novels and watching TV on the internet in the afternoon. Occasionally give Xiao Xu print a contract, copy a document, run errands to send a material. Other than that, nothing. This afternoon, I nestled in my office chair to brush a book. Suddenly I brushed to a blogger's post, finally no good to cry is what experience. This kind of post, very difficult not to move. Who can refuse to go in and see what's so good to drink that you cry? I clicked on the post, matcha milk tea plus ice cream plus boobs plus coconut plus less ice. Damn it, I want it more. I clicked on the takeout app and was about to order with passion. Suddenly I realized I was at work and had to turn off my takeout app. Immediately I had a flash of inspiration, quickly forwarded the post to Xiao Xu, also attached a sentence, drink. I looked over the chat box to indicate that the person was typing. After several minutes of editing, Xiao tossed a red envelope. Drink. I'll have 2. I happily received 200 red envelopes, to himself and Xiaoshu a point of 2 cups of milk tea. Payment amount 89.36. More than $100 in blood. I sneaked to the company downstairs, will take milk tea upstairs, like a thief slipped into Xiaoshu's office. After receiving the milk tea, Xiaoshu hesitated and said, "Why don't you stop going out and finish your drink in my office? Being seen by others doesn't do much good. Now that the president has spoken, I might as well bow down." I just sat on the couch, legs crossed, swiping short videos and sipping milky tea. It's like it's your home. Every day for the next week, I shared a post about milk tea with Xiaoshu and asked him if he drank it. The first day, Xiaoshu, "No, last time is an exception, no next time." 10 minutes later, Xiaoshu, "Forget it, have a cup, I want less sugar, recently in weight control." The next day, Xiaoshu, "Do you come to work or to drink milk tea?" 10 minutes later, Xiaoshu, "Did you order?" "I'll have 2 extra boobs." The third day, Xiaoshu, "Yesterday is the last time, believe it or not I buckle your wages." 10 minutes later, Xiaoshu, "Then again, this is new, try something new is not too much. Less sugar, please." The fourth day, Xiaoshu, "I want to quit sugar today, you are not allowed to drink." 10 minutes later, Xiaoshu, "If there is a president who goes to work seriously every day, is it too much for him to drink a cup of milk tea with less sugar?" The fifth day, Xiaoshu, "I want to say no to the temptation from today on, I already fat 3 gins." 10 minutes later, Xiaoshu, "No sugar, add 2 parts of crisp bubo, thank you." The sixth day, Xiaoshu, "You really damn are, you in the end is to come to the company for." 10 minutes later, Xiaoshu, "Die together, I want 2 cups." The seventh day, Xiaoshu, "What to drink today?" One day I carried milk tea into Xiaoshu's office and saw him sitting at his desk with his head propped up. I handed him the milk tea and saw an invitation to a dinner party in front of him. A little familiar, how look more and more like my home issue. Until I see the lower right corner of the Mo word, just confirm, is my invitation. I sucked the milk tea carelessly and asked, "What's the matter?" A face of the house was stolen expression. "You understand when you're my age," said Xiaoshu, holding milk tea. "Good. Forget I asked." In the evening, I changed the usual image in the company, dressed up to attend the party. I accompany my good big daddy worldly wisdom a circle down, also didn't see Xiaoshu figure. I had to walk around the yard with my skirt. Suddenly, I saw several people squatting behind the rockery around a small bench, do not know what in a sneaky bad thing. So I crept up behind the rockery to listen. A familiar voice said, "What are you doing here? You're eating fried chicken here?" Soon another strange voice was heard. "I'm sorry, I'm so hungry. We won't have anything to do after the party starts. Please don't tell Mo Dong, or we'll be fired." The familiar voice soon returned, "Tell me which fried chicken, I'm hungry, too. God damn it. I'm in it for the worldly, commercial adulation. Xiaoshu is eating fried chicken in secret here. I can't. I'm gonna eat it, too." So I walked up to them from behind the rockery and said, "Order me 1, 2. When Xiaoshu saw me suddenly appear, he was dumbfounded. "How come you're here? You don't think these dinner snacks are going to fill you up, do you? Would you like some more milk tea?" Half an hour later, milk tea and fried chicken were delivered to our hands. Xiaoshu, a few staff members, and I huddled around the small chairs behind the rockery and ate takeout on the sly. The next day, Gao Shuqing to company inspection. She came to see me rather than to see the company. I sat face to face with her again in the conference room where we first met. She smiled affably, "Little Moa, to the company for more than half a month, how do you feel?" I thought about it for a few seconds and then said, "The company atmosphere is great. Everyone is positive, working hard, and taking care of me." Gao Shuqing once again showed a smile I couldn't understand. "I didn't ask this, I asked, Xiaoshu, what do you think of him?" Before I could speak, GAO Shuqing continued, her thoughts drifting back to the past. Xiaoshu is GAO Shuqing single-handedly brought up children. Xiaoshu's parents when he was 5 years old on the divorce, behind each formed a new family. Because of the divorce of her parents, Xiaoshu doesn't like to communicate with other children of the same age. She prefers to immerse herself in her own world. They are reluctant to express their emotions. Everyone else thinks he looks tough, but I know he's always been a good boy. I listened to GAO Shuqing's words, the brain cannot help but emerge the first time and he met. Expressionless, cold, and precious. It's the same as the bamboo in his name. It seems that the first impression is just like what GAO Shuqing said. Looks tough. The picture of getting along with Xiaoshu goes round and round in my mind. When GAO Shuqing saw that I wasn't talking, she continued, that's why I recruited you in the first place. I wanted you to talk to him often. He had few friends, mostly just doing his own thing, and no one to share it with. I thought you could take my place and spend more time with him. I nodded, indicating that I will complete the task. GAO Shuqing left the company. I went back to my office and opened a book as usual. I looked up into the inner office. Through the glass wall, I saw Xiaoshu as usual, very seriously in the review of documents. And he put a stack of papers on my desk. Take these into the president. When she saw that I didn't respond, she raised her hand and waved it in front of me, catching my attention. I snapped back. Huh? What did you say? Any repeated one side, just words. The data will be sent in later, you just see the presidency absorbed. You don't like him, do you? I wouldn't advise it. Why? I asked curiously. Any suddenly switch into a gossipy face, gushing about the story before. From the mouth at any, before I have not entered the company, the propaganda department has a big graduate of the beautiful female students, heard or a rich second generation. She went into the company for an internship in order to chase Xiaoshu. One day after work, she directly at the door of the company, stopped Xiaoshu confession, the result of crying away, and later never appeared in the company. My fingers drummed on the table. That's another thing. So don't like him, Annie said solemnly. And if you do, don't tell him. Although I admit, he is very handsome. I smiled. I see. Annie said and left. I sent the information into the office. Xiaoshu looked up at me, and he said yes, he looks really handsome. At work, with his black-rimmed glasses, tailored suit, and custom-made pen, he is the stoic hero of the novel. Who would have thought that such a cool president, who exudes the temperament of a born man, would like to drink milk tea in private? He hesitated for a long time, and finally began to ask me, did not brush a book today? I was about to turn around and walk out the door when I heard the words, what? Xiaoshu was a little embarrassed to scratch the back of the head, the tip of the ear slightly red. You have not told me what to drink tea today. I burst out laughing. Didn't you tell me a few days ago that you wanted to keep fit and control your weight, that you had gained 5 pounds? The tip of Xiaoshu's ear was redder, and she whispered, stay away from my weight. I signed myself up for the gym, he says quickly. I laughed even harder. Yes, President. I said and went back to his office chair, trying to brush a book, choose today's drink tea. About an hour later, when I put the milk tea on Xiaoshu's desk, I found him surreptitiously brushing some book. I glanced at it and saw that he had liked a hot pot post. Want to go eat? Xiaoshu heard my voice, flustered mobile phone up. How do you come in? Also do not knock, but also peep at other people's mobile phones. I hold the milk tea in one hand will push his milk tea in front of him, after work to eat. Xiaoshu pretended to think tactically for a moment. Okay, wait for me in the underground garage after work. I gave him an okay sign, sipped my chai and exited his office. It was time to get off work and I took the elevator to the underground garage to wait for him. Immediately a low-key luxury gentleman thugs, Aston Martin a flick of the tail pulled up in front of me. The window slowly fell. Xiaoshu turned to look at me, get on. So I opened the door and happily got into the passenger seat and fastened my seatbelt. Hot pot shop opened in the bustling mall, and I finished Xiaoshu hot pot, decided to go shopping together digest food. Suddenly I stopped, Xiaozhu drinking lemonade, turned and asked me, "What, want to go in to buy something?" I pointed to the new store. "Do you have any impulse?" Xiaozhu walked back to my side, and I stood together. "What impulse?" My eyes were firm as if I wanted to join the party. "Well, you follow my instructions." "Wait a minute. I'll go in first. Then you can go in a few minutes." Xiaozhu nodded seriously. "Okay, then what?" I shook my head again. "Then we'll get 2 key rings." "That's a good idea," he said. 10 minutes later, Xiaozhu and I were holding a keychain and preparing to happily leave the mall when a woman suddenly appeared and stopped me. I looked up at my childhood nemesis, Lin Lin. Her father and my father are on good terms, but she and I haven't dealt with each other since childhood. Waving a big wave at Lin Lin and wearing high heels, what a coincidence, you're out on a date with your little boyfriend. What's this month's conversation? Instead of smiling, I replied, "So, the divorce case is over." To whom did the child go? Lin Lin wasn't bothered by my words at all. He just smiled and said, "How many days are we going to talk this time?" I put my arm around Xiaozhu and snuggled up to his shoulder. "You must come next month for our engagement." He smiled even more broadly at Lin Lin and said, "Okay, I'll make sure to give you a big red envelope and dress up to go." He said it to Lin Lin, and then he swung his hips and left with a big wave. Don't say, really a bit of amorous feelings, million kind of charm. As I walked towards Lin Lin, I immediately let go of my hand holding Xiaozhu. "Excuse me." Xiaozhu lowered her eyes and looked at her empty arm. "Who is she?" I put the keychain into my bag and explained, "Her name is Xiong Lin Lin. She is my sworn enemy from childhood to adulthood. My father and her father are very close, but she and I haven't dealt with each other since we were children. Every time we see each other, we have to catch each other up." I waved my hand and said, "Let's go. I want to buy you a cup of milk tea to show my apology for using you as a tool." Xiaozhu shook his head. "A cup of milk tea? No, I can't, not without a little cake." I snapped my fingers to show that it was nothing. "It's just a little cake." He said I'd buy him 10 of them. After I bought milk tea and small cakes with Xiaozhu, I passed a cinema. A poster of a horror film stood out at the gate of the cinema. I stopped and turned to see Xiaozhu standing beside me sipping milk tea. "Are you afraid?" He looked down at me, his beautiful eyes full of doubt. "You want to see?" I excitedly nodded, regardless of Xiaozhu's wishes, went directly to the front desk to buy a good 2 movie tickets and a bucket of popcorn. Before the movie started, I shouted at Xiaozhu, "Don't wet your pants." 2 hours later, Xiaozhu and I helped each other out of the cinema. Xiaozhu's voice with a little trembling, "You do not say they are not afraid." My legs are still shaking, who knows, it is 3D, the ghost will hurt my face. 2 hours of film, Xiaozhu and I, is the loudest call. Buy a bucket of popcorn, didn't eat much, basically all over the ground. Xiaozhu finally slowly over, "No longer, and you see the horror film." I quickly nodded, "Good, no longer watch horror movies, we see other." Finished saying this sentence, I and Xiaozhu at the same time silent. I and Xiaozhu, 2 people are very tacit, understanding, didn't continue, just topic, immediately loosen each other, then back to each home. Back home, I washed, lying in bed before going to bed as usual, brush friend circle. Saw Xiaozhu post a circle of friends an hour ago. The posts were 4 pictures, the first was a hot pot, the second was a free keyring that I got with him, the third was a milk tea and a cake that I bought for him, and the 4th was a movie ticket for a horror movie. I gave him a friend circle like, turn off the phone, and fell asleep. The next day, I came to the company to work, just finished playing cards, was in his stealthily pulled to the corner to gossip. I doubt the president fell in love, he didn't send 800 years circle of friends of the people, yesterday actually sent a circle of friends. On top of that, 2 movie tickets, 2 keychains in different colors, milk tea, and a little cake for my little girlfriend. I was suddenly a little nervous and didn't dare tell any that the mysterious little girlfriend she was talking about was actually me. I uncharacteristically didn't gossip with her, just find a reason to send her away. I went back to my station and looked at Xiaoshu, who was carefully reviewing the documents in the office. He's secretly coming for milk tea and cupcakes. He looked up suddenly, and my eyes met his. I ducked my head in panic, rummaging through the few papers on my desk, pretending to be busy. A few minutes later, I quietly looked back, Xiaoshu already vowed to continue to deal with the work. As if the eye contact didn't exist. I looked around guilty as a thief. In fact, no one. I surreptitiously point into Xiaoshu's circle of friends, half a year visible range, only this one. I clicked on the post and went through the 4 photos he sent one by one. My pupil suddenly dilates. I saw that behind the movie ticket has revealed my half back. Get down on the counter and buy popcorn. The heart suddenly missed a beat, as if something high up the walls came crashing down. I put my hand up on my chest. My heart is beating so fast. I patted myself on the cheek, saved the photo to an album, and put away my phone. I told myself in my heart that I would work hard today. 5 minutes later, I clicked on Pesticide Canyon and turned on the microphone. This takes me flying. Just finished a hard fight, I received a message from my father, told me to go home for dinner tonight. I replied, copy that, and continued my Remember the Titans. I returned home in the evening. The door will find Gao Shuqing and Xiaoshu sitting in my living room. I'm confused. What's going on? Did my father and Gao Shuqing know each other originally? Their subsequent conversation soon confirmed my suspicions. When I was a child just born, my grandfather and Xiaoshu's grandfather on an appointment. If the two families are born a boy, we will become opposite-sex brothers, girls will become opposite-sex sisters, man and a woman will become in-laws. My father suddenly see me lying at home when the rich end generation is not happy, let me go to work, is to get me into Xiaoshu company, 2 people can contact. I'll say I'm such a bombshell, what company would want me? And being on the job is no different than being on the wrong side of the tracks. I surreptitiously sent a message to Xiaoshu, you knew at the beginning? Xiaoshu quickly replied, I don't know. Okay, so Xiaoshu and I are both drummers. Gao Shuqing holding my hand, left look right look very satisfied. On the spot with the jade on the wrist set to my hand, engagement first don't worry, this is your grandmother to meet the gift, you don't have the burden. You two get together again, and when you get the idea, get engaged. We're not old-fashioned, after all, marriage is for life. Old Mo also opened his mouth to add, although in your childhood, the 2 elders have agreed, but the marriage is your 2 things. So in the end, it's up to you 2 to decide. Xiaoshu and Gao Shuqing after dinner, and sat for a while, they left. I sat down next to my mother and showed her the jade on my wrist. How much is this? My grandfather was in the jade and jewelry business, so my mother knew better. My mother disdained to see me one eye, Eiffel is how you so vulgar. She looked carefully at the jade bracelet on my hand and said, you are so frivolity. You'd better find a box to keep it. Seeing that I didn't understand, my mother added, simply put, this is a full green jade bracelet of ceiling grade. There was an auction 3 years ago where there was also a full green jade bracelet, but it wasn't as good as this one. That bracelet sold for $120 million. The one you're holding, it'll only get higher. I was shocked. Gao Shuqing said it was just a simple gift to meet her, and she gave away more than 100 million. Back on my deck, I quickly found a nice velvet jewelry box, put the bracelet away, and locked it in the safe. Subsequently, I nestled in the floor-to-ceiling window next to the sofa, enjoying the night view of the whole city. Unknowingly fell asleep in the past. I was woken up the next day by the ringing of my mobile phone. I pressed the answer button in a daze. A strange voice came from the other end of the phone. You don't answer the phone. Do you know how worried I am? A wave of doubt came over me, and I perked up. I'm sorry, I was sleeping. I looked at the strange number without notes. The people I know in my mind over the side, always cannot remember whose voice this is in the end. The voice on the other end of the line continued. Can you stop doing that in the future? I'm really freaking out, you know? Guilt arises spontaneously from the heart. I quickly apologize. I'm sorry, who are you? The other end of the line breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Your takeout is downstairs." Me? 10,000 auto-silence swear words rushed through my heart. I order my breakfast in advance every day, and when I get there, almost all of my takeout arrives. As soon as I hung up, I received a message from Xiaoshu, "Where are you?" I got up from the sofa while going to wash, while giving Xiaoshu back message, "Get up late, you go to the company downstairs to help me get a takeaway." Xiaoshu slowly sent a question mark over. As I brush my teeth, type with one hand, "I give you a loaf of bread." Xiao Bamboo in the mobile phone that delete, finally sent over 2 words, "Deal." When I arrived at the office half an hour later, I saw breakfast on my desk. I opened the bag of breakfast, and sure enough, Xiaoshu took away a small bread. As usual, I opened the next meal variety show, eating a delicious breakfast. I don't know when Xiaoshu appeared in front of me. "Oh, woman. Did you know you were coming to work?" I slowly looked up from the bread in my mouth and met his eyes. "What, 1 night away, man, and you miss me like that?" This word say export, I and Xiaoshu together lang in situ. Xiaoshu regained his composure first. He bowed his head and smiled. "Woman, are you in order to capture? One must set loose with me." I quickly fell into character, picked up the ice no at hand, and pretended to shake my wine glass slightly. "Are you crazy?" "Very well, man, you've managed to get my attention." Xiaoshu drooping eyes looked at me, eyes full of temptation, just like a hook people's fox. I swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "You these words, where learns, all the world unification overbearing president all speaks like this." After hearing what I said, Xiaoshu was rather shy and said sheepishly, "From romance novel school." My little head, big doubts, very puzzled asked him, "You bossy president minute 0 or so, every day so many documents to see, you still have time to read romance novel?" Xiaoshu felt embarrassed, scratched his head. "No. Last night, while I was playing on my phone before I went to bed, a window popped up in my browser." Hearing Xiaoshu's words, I was even more curious. What does it say? Xiaoshu hesitated for a while. After a fierce psychological struggle, or hem and haw of the opening said, "She runs away, he chases her, she turbulence, be a good girl, and call her husband, I'll give you my life." I'm curious. Just click on it. I listened to Xiaoshu's words. After a few seconds of silence, tears almost laughed. "Brother, you pay attention to their identity, okay, but you are the bossy president for the reign, AH. Do you really think it's appropriate to read such nonsense? And what time did you see?" Xiaoshu's voice was so small that I could hardly hear him. 2 o'clock in the morning. I laughed even more. Just the first day, I watched live by his copy of The Penalty. Today, he watched the whole article by himself and saw it at 2 o'clock in the morning. When Xiaoshu saw that I was laughing too loudly, he put on his no entry sign again. "Don't laugh. Laugh again and you'll lose your pay." I convergence for a moment, serious, but a second, then holding his stomach laughed out loud. Xiao simply no longer continued to ignore me. Proud Jiao turned around and returned to his office. Time passed quickly, and it was almost the most exciting time of the day. I packed up my things and walked to Xiaoshu's office with my cell phone and bag. I was about to ask him if he would like to have dinner with me at a new Thai restaurant when I saw him lying on the sofa under a blanket. Could it be that I stayed up late reading a novel yesterday, resulting in insufficient sleep time, so I fell asleep? I crept up to him and whispered his name. "Xiaoshu, Xiaoshu." When he didn't respond, I reached out and poked him in the cheek. He groaned in a daze and turned over. Look at his blushing cheeks. Good-looking brows also wrinkled a small Sichuan word. I the messengers my hand to his forehead. "It's hot. He has a fever. We need to get to the hospital right away." I put away my usual bumbling attitude. He raised his hand and shook his shoulder. "Xiaoshu, Xiaoshu, wake up. I'll take you to the hospital." He opened his eyes drowsily. Eyes blurred, as if there is a layer of mist. The voice was still a little low-voiced, languid and seductive. "Well, Maury. I feel terrible. I took Xiaoxu's shoulder and pulled him up. Go, I'll take you to the hospital. Xiaoxu stood up, half the weight of the body of pressure on me. I dragged Xiaoxu to the basement and stuffed him into the back seat of the car. 1 foot off the gas pedal. At the hospital, the doctor gave Xiao a thermometer and asked her to sit next to him to take her temperature. Soon, 5 minutes passed. The doctor holding a pen, face serious sitting in front of the desk, ready to write down the symptoms of Xiaoxu, convenient follow-up to suit the remedy to the case. Doctor, how high? I was about to tell the doctor that Xiaoxu's temperature is 39.5 degrees. Didn't expect, Xiaoxu burner befuddled, incredibly still can beat me a step to open a mouth, 185.2, net height. I watched the doctor slowly raised his head, the original firmly serious expression slowly filled with doubts. I'm sorry, doctor, I said. He's burning up. The temperature just taken is 39.5 degrees. The doctor coughed lightly and quickly became professional. Patient asked questions, hands in the medical record book kept notes. It was 9 o'clock in the evening when I came out of the hospital. Xiaoxu had just finished an intravenous drip, a nest in the back seat of the car to sleep in the past. I don't know where Xiaoxu's home is. He's still ill, and it's not a good idea to leave him alone in a hotel. I had no choice but to bring Xiaoxu back to my Taihei lair. After throwing Xiaoxu to the guest room to cover the quilt, I went to the bathroom to take a bath. I came out of the bathroom in my silk pajamas and went to the guest room to see how Xiaoxu was doing. Only to find the light in the kitchen turned on. Is Xiaoxu awake from her sleep? I put on my silk coat and went into the kitchen. Xiaoxu looked up at me. How are you feeling now? Is that better? I wiped the wet hair, slowly walked to Xiaoxu's side. Xiaoxu nodded. Thank you. Is there water? I casually pulled my shower cap over my hair. I'll get it for you. Xiaoxu obediently stood aside and waited for me. The light hit his face and cast a beautiful shadow. Originally white face, the moment because of illness appears more pale, but emerge again flush. Xiaoxu took a cup of warm water I poured for him. Chug, 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 chug. I'll cook porridge for you. Then wait until you finish your porridge and take the medicine. As I speak, I rummage through the fridge for ingredients. Is there anything you're allergic to? I turned my head and looked at Xiaoxu. He shook his head, holding the empty glass in his hand. No, I eat them all. I nodded, no words, from the refrigerator out of the shrimp and mushrooms and a handful of small vegetables. Xiao didn't leave the kitchen. He just stood there and looked at me quietly. I didn't know you could cook. I got my hands full with ingredients. Surprise. There's a lot you don't know. Xiaoxu lowered his head and smiled lightly. He put down his cup of water and said, I'll go with you. I don't see anything wrong with him still being ill. I put the small vegetables to his hand, then you choose vegetables. Xiaoxu took over the small green vegetables, serious and serious under the tap to wash. I turned and looked at the serious vegetables. Xiaoxu, a husband both senses how to return a responsibility. In just a few seconds, I even think about what to call the child, as if I had seen the married life. Until Xiaoxu will choose a good dish handed to me, I just return to God. What are you looking at? Sick Xiaoxu, who seems to be less than a few strangers do not enter the cold, more than a few points gentle. You're a good-looking boy. Xiaoxu is not modest at all, not bad. But I could clearly see a suspicious flush in his ears. I laughed to myself, not to expose him. Soon all the ingredients were put into the pot. I'll play some games. I'll eat them in half an hour. You find something to do. I just lifted the foot to the sofa, ready to embrace my soft big sofa, but with Xiaoxu a pull wrist. I looked up at him in bewilderment. What's wrong? Xiaoxu took my wrist, took me to the bathroom. Your hair is not dry, late at night, do not blow dry has been wrapped in hair, moisture is very heavy. He thought for a moment and then added, you get headaches when you're old. Xiao took off my shower cap, and my hair fell over my shoulder. He took down the hairdryer from the stand on the wall. Don't move. Stand still. I'll blow your hair. Xiaoshu's slender fingers, gently through my hair, then fiddling with my hair, let every place a hot wind blowing. Hair scattered on my forehead, I opened my eyes, looking at the mirror reflected me and Xiaoshu, two people. Xiaoshu carefully blow my hair, looked up at the mirror, eyes meet with me. Is it too hot? Would be hot to talk to me. My heartbeat involuntarily accelerated, and as if suddenly missed a beat. Both fists unconsciously clenched together, palms wet like the sea. The only sound in the bathroom was the whirring of the hairdryer. But now I can only feel my heart beating loudly. Okay. The sound of the hairdryer came to an abrupt end at this moment. See what's left to blow dry, and I'll blow it for you. I put my fingers in my hair, and the hair was still warm from the hairdryer. No, it's all dried. Xiaoshu nodded. The hairdryer line will be sorted out. The hairdryer hung back on the wall, and conveniently from the washing table took a few paper towels. Then we'll just blow hair fall hair clean up. Thank you. I blushed and walked out of the bathroom. After Xiaoshu tidies up the hair that falls, also came to the sitting room. The floor-to-ceiling windows offer a night view of the bustling downtown area. Colorful neon lights kept changing, staged one after another gorgeous light show. Inside the French window, I nestled in the sofa playing games, sitting on the side of Xiaoshu reading financial magazines. For also quite a bit of years static good meaning. I finished a game, just to open the next one, cell phone timing alarm clock just rang. The porridge is ready. I put down the phone just to get up, porridge boil well, I go to carry, you go to the table and wait for me. Xiaoshu stood up together, I'll take it, you get the chopsticks. I nodded. Fine. Warm yellow light, scattered throughout the restaurant. Xiaoshu and I sat face to face, the two men were silently drinking bowl of porridge. From time to time I glanced up at him furtively, then ducked my head for fear of being seen. There's the tension of watching a crush on a god in class as a student. When I can't remember how many times I looked up at Xiaoshu, he happened to look up at me, too. I nervously swallowed the porridge in my mouth, and stammered, What? Xiaoshu looked into my eyes without a word. The air was silent for a few seconds, and time seemed to stand still at this moment. I could feel my heart pounding in my throat. Just when I could hardly bear the atmosphere, Xiao finally spoke up. Let's get married. Boom. As if there is a magnificent fireworks, suddenly exploded in my mind. What? What did you say? I can hardly believe my ears. Xiaoshu sat up straight, put down the spoon in his hand, looked at my eyes seriously. I said, Moi, let's get married. The fireworks in my mind burst out again, dazzling and dazzling. I suddenly lowered his head, to cover up their own tension and shy, and horror of the opening, do not go through a process. Like, falling in love. I said quietly, looked up to Xiaoshu, see he really seriously thinking about what I just said, what do you think? Xiaoshu straight up to my eyes, if you want. The spoon in my hand stirred the thick porridge in the bowl, blushing and muttering, the normal procedure is not to declare your love first, then fall in love, meet your parents, find a suitable day for both parents to meet, and then get engaged, married. Xiao smiled gently and then said, okay, whatever you say. It is what it is, I muttered. The next day to the company to work, the work group directly exploded the pot. Annie pulled me furtively to the corner of the stairwell. She looked around to make sure no one was there before she spoke mysteriously. Did you know that our president is in love? Hearing this, my pupils suddenly dilate. Annie looked at my face full of surprise, from the pocket took out the phone, point open Xiaoshu's circle of friends, like a treasure like the phone handed to me, you see for yourself. I took Annie's phone. Xiao's circle of friends posted a photo. I clicked on the picture, zoomed in and looked at it again and again. I was playing video games on the sofa last night. I don't know when I was secretly filmed by Xiaoshu. In the photo, I am wearing silk pajamas, hair loose, head bent in concentration in the game to kill. The instant I pressed the shutter, I couldn't see my face clearly from the angle. Annie babbled in my ear, do you remember the last time I told you that the president fell in love? If you don't believe it, that keychain is definitely for couples. That little cake and milk tea is definitely for his girlfriend. And that horror movie. I must have brought my little girlfriend to see it. Our president looks very serious. He is quite good at falling in love. He has a set of tricks. She knows how to watch scary movies, so when her little girlfriend gets scared, she tries to squeeze into her arms. It's called in order to capture, one must set loose. Hey, which one of the girls caught our president's eye? Aren't you curious what the president's little girlfriend looks like? Although I couldn't see her face clearly in this picture, I had a strong feeling that she must be a beautiful woman from great beauty. I turned off my phone and handed it back to Annie. I don't know. Well, it's time to go to work. Let's get back to work. Annie carelessly didn't see my abnormality, looked down at the time on the phone. Go, go, go. Let's get back to work. Back at my desk, I clicked on Xiaoxu's circle of friends and gave the photo a thumbs up. I was about to choose the milk tea for today when I received a message from my big dad. Xiaoxu is coming home for dinner this evening, you remember to come back. I returned a received emoticon and continued to click on a book to choose milk tea. As soon as I sent the milk tea post to Xiaoxu, he sent me a family card with the highest limit. I put a question mark over it. Xiao quickly replied, in the future, I will use this card to buy milk tea and small cakes. I happily received a 20,000 limit family card. Half an hour later, I walked into Xiaoxu's office with milk tea and a small cake. Xiaoxu put down the pen in his hand. Do you want to go to dinner with me tonight? I put milk tea and cake on his desk. No, come to my home for dinner tonight. I want to go back. Xiaoxu nodded. Would you like to have lunch with me? I just brushed into a restaurant and it was delicious. It's nearby. I hold milk tea sitting to the side of the sofa. Good. What? Xiaoxu sent me the post. Do you eat mutton? I browsed through his posts and replied, I eat everything but liver. Then wait for me in the parking lot at noon. I raised my hand to Xiaoxu in an okay gesture, collapsed on the sofa, brushed short video laughing. Soon after noon, I said hello to Annie and went to the car park without her. Then I went to the car park. Xiaoxu will drive the car in front of me, beautiful flick tail, the window down. Xiaoxu with silver wire frame glasses, turned to look at me, get on. The mutton soup shop is not far from the company. It takes about 10 minutes to get there. The hostess, in an apron, was working briskly with the ingredients. The proprietress saw us come in and asked enthusiastically, what do handsome men and beautiful women want to eat? I looked up at the menu. I'll have a bowl of mutton soup and fried rice. The boss's wife smiled, ha ha ha, I've ordered to nod, the mutton soup wants 18 of still 20. I pondered for a few seconds. 20. The proprietress nodded and asked Xiaoxu what she wanted. Xiaoxu points after a good single, paid the money, to find a seat to sit. I stand aside and continue to chat with the boss. Emmy, Madam Boss, how many years have you operated this small shop? Hostess, it has been open for 15 years. Emmy, why don't you see your husband, you are due. Boss, my husband went out to buy food, and soon came back, and so he came back. I introduce you to know, my husband can be handsome. Me, how handsome? The boss's wife looks proud, as handsome as your boyfriend. I listen to look back at a serious use of boiling water to scald chopsticks Xiaoxu. Soon, Xiaoxu and I ordered dishes are done, the boss gave us the end table. I casually asked, hey, what's the difference between 18 and 20 pieces of mutton soup? The boss wife's simple-hearted smile, hey, how to say this? It really doesn't make any difference, except that some people are willing to give 18, and some people are willing to give 20. I poured at my fried rice and felt speechless. So you still, very down to earth. I drank mutton soup and chatted with Xiaoxu. Just now the boss said her husband was handsome. Xiaoxu, how handsome? Speaking of this, I can be excited, the boss said as handsome as you. Xiao raised an eyebrow, really, I'll wait and see how handsome it is. When we finished eating and were ready to leave, the boss finally came back. The boss's wife greeted us warmly. "Little girl, this is my husband. Look, isn't he handsome?" After the hostess said that, she added, "You as handsome as your boyfriend." I heard it and saw a dark bald man, less than 1.7 meters tall, standing next to the boss's wife, gently wiping the sweat from her forehead. I nodded, raised his hand to the boss than a thumb. "Handsome." I think, perhaps in the heart of the proprietress, her husband is the most handsome. Perhaps the appearance is not the public aesthetic handsome, but as a man, he is gentle to his wife, shoulder a family responsibility, he is the most handsome. Get in the car, ready to go back to the company. Xiaoxu took out a black card from her bag and handed it to me. "Here you are." I took the black card. "I have one of my own." Xiao put the bag away and started the car's engine. "I don't care. You can swipe my card later." I took the black card that Xiaoxu gave me and played with it. "Why, I have an unlimited black card myself." Xiaoxu Ao Jiao snorted 2 times. "I don't care. After you brush my card, you spend my money, I am happy. If you don't spend my money, whose money will you spend?" I received the black card from Xiaoxu into my bag and put it in a different layer from the black card from my father. Back home at night, door, they see to uncle sitting in the living room. To Lin Lin sitting next to my mom, cuddling on her shoulder. When Lin Lin saw me back, he gave me a big smile, followed by a puzzled look. "Ruren Kaganate, where's your fiancé? Didn't you come over for dinner?" When I said this to Lin Lin, all eyes were on me. Mo goes to Defcon 1, fiancé? What fiancé? When did you get secretly engaged outside? I was about to explain to Lin Lin that it wouldn't hurt to watch. I was at the mall a while back and I ran into Ruren Kaganate. She went shopping with a man. Ruren Kaganate told me it was his boyfriend. He's getting engaged next month. AH? Uncle Mo, don't you and Auntie know? Old Mo listens anxiously. He most fears 3 matters in this life. The first thing I did was start my own business. The second thing, I am afraid of relying on the family money to bully people, do things against the law. The third thing is that I'm afraid of falling in love with the yellow hair on the ghost fire. Old Mo Miso suddenly stood up from the sofa. "You tell my father, you secretly in love with yellow hair. You tell Daddy he'll never be angry. It's not too late to break it. Daddy will pick out a good one for you." I glared at Lin Lin, helplessly explaining, no, what Lin Lin saw that day was Xiaoxu. I then recounted the events of that day. Old Mo just relieved, not an yellow hair fall in love with good, father is relieved. "Xiaoxu is a good boy. You really don't like Xiaoxu. Your mother and I are relieved to have given you to Xiaoxu." My face brushes at 1 o'clock red, lower the head buckles the fingernail, the hesitating opening said, I and Xiaoxu fall in love. There was an instant of silence in the living room. My mom was the first to think, when? I couldn't look my father in the eye. Just last night. Mo and my mom don't ask for details. Old Mo sat back on the sofa. "Xiaoxu is a good boy, but also know the bottom of the well. You and Xiaoxu should have a good talk. Dad and Mom are at ease with him. We're in no hurry to get engaged or anything. We won't rush you. We don't always talk about freedom of marriage. Tell Mom and Dad when you think it's time. You don't have to worry about that. Mom and Dad will take care of it for you. My parents' greatest wish is that you live a happy life and don't eat any bitterness." I threw myself into Mo's arms and was moved to tears. "Dad," Mo continued, "your mother and I even thought, if you never married, doesn't matter, Mom and Dad can support you for life. Now that you have someone you like, Mom and Dad can rest assured. You just have to be happy all your life and don't worry about anything else." Half a year later, a century wedding was held in a city. Live on the big screen of the major shopping malls are Xiaoxu and I wedding live. I made good on my promise to Lin Lin and prepared a big wedding present. Gave me a milk tea shop, let me be the boss. For the first 20 years of my life, I lay at home and lived off my parents. The next day, I will begin to lay Xiaoxu home nor husband when rich wife. Don't break the law, don't bully the weak, don't try to start a business, honest lying at home to spend money. This is my self-cultivation as a rich end generation.